Welcome to the Going North podcast, where we will deliver you tips and techniques to advance yourself and anything you decide to do. I am your host, Dom Brightman, and every Thursday I will interview authors, especially self-published ones, from various walks of life. And they will deliver you information and inspiration to help you charge forward. On a quick side note, be sure to check out my book, Going North, on Amazon.com. It's available on ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Now let's get on with the show. Today on the Going North podcast, we have a special guest. 1 week, we had just a fiction author and multiple non-fiction authors these past few weeks, but this guy right here, he writes both fiction and non-fiction. And not only that, he is also the guy that will help you to become fit, F-I-T, with a capital F. And he is Chris Aitken. He's the author of 3 books, which include the No Sweat Fitness Sales book, You Probably Won't Die, and his newest book, Practical Nutrition, a practical health series book, your no-nonsense guide to eating healthy, losing fat, and conquering the scale. I did say his name was Chris, but his real name is actual Christopher Aitken, the wonderful owner of the CrossFit Cadenceville Gym. He also has a couple courses on Udemy.com, as well as a boatload of other things. Chris, how you doing today?
Dom, I am fantastic, sir. I'm ready to get this party started. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. Doing really fabulous.
Fantastic. Got to thank you for letting me come on today. I've been listening to all your backlog, and I'm really enjoying the show and all the insights that your different guests are sharing. I'm just kind of hoping that I can carry the torch a little bit further forward.
That's right. Because when it comes to carrying torches, you, sir, are the man, baby. You're about to light people on fire.
I hope so.
Well, alrighty. Beyond that small bio, I know there's an expansive resume that you possess. So could you tell us a bit about yourself beyond the introduction?
Sure. So, I mean, you kind of encapsulated a lot of the stuff I'm doing currently. I guess the best way to describe me over the years is I'm the most eclectic person you've probably ever met. I've got hobbies out the wazoo. I collect degrees and certifications like it's my job, and I write almost nonstop. You know, when I started out my journey many a year ago in undergrad, I thought I was going to go to med school. Turned out I wasn't going to med school. Got a degree in psychology, then got bored partway through. After I finished that degree, got another degree in English. And just kind of kept going, joined the military, got my knee blown out, came back from the military, managed a pawn shop, did some tech support, got a master's in data analysis just for funsies. Planning to join the FBI, guess what didn't happen? Didn't join the FBI because they changed the requirements for what I was going for. And then from there, you know, I just kind of figured out that teaching and fitness classes were something I really enjoyed. I've been a lifelong martial artist, and I just decided one day that it was a good idea, with zero business experience whatsoever, to open my own gym, work on that full-time while still keeping a full-time job, and took that on a wing and a prayer 4 years ago. Ended up quitting my job about 1.5 years or 2 years in, because I was actually able to cover all my bills and, you know, not be a pauper living out on the street eating out of trash cans at that point. And then started collecting fitness certifications, started writing books. You know, like you said, I've got 3 out there on Amazon now. I'm working on the 4th nonfiction one, just all about how to be successful, kind of in general. And then also working on 2 fiction books simultaneously. So, I mean, really, I don't sleep when it comes to work. I get up super early to get my stuff done, and I'm still trying to be a decent business owner. Like you mentioned, I own my own gym out here in Cadenceville, where I train people to be just more badass versions of themselves. And then I've also got a wife and child that I love dearly. You know, they're a big part of my life. My son's 2. He's crazy in his head all the time. And my wife and I, we're doing our best to keep up with him on a day-to-day basis and still work our own careers and be successful. So always a lot of stuff going on, but I'm never bored. So at least there's that.
Never bored indeed. Oh my goodness, because there's like so much in there. There's like so many different paths we can go into. I mean, like the dream of like being a martial artist all your life and then going into the military, blowing out your knee, and then wanting to join the FBI. So what led you to join the military?
So once undergrad was finishing up, I realized that I didn't have a very good plan. I had spread myself amongst a couple of different specialties. You know, I got the English, I had the psychology. Psychology you can't do anything with really unless you've got a more advanced degree, so I didn't know if I wanted to go to grad school for that. And with English, essentially you either teach English or you write books. And at the time, I wasn't really certain that I could write a book. I wasn't kind of in that right mind space. And then when I was getting my degree done, just to add a little bit of extra stuff to do, I was also working nearly full-time in tech support on the campus help desk. So when I was leaving college, I was like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my life. So I will join the Air Force and see where that gets me. And it was in a computer specialization, so I figured, well, I'm already kind of on a head start there. And then, you know, graduation rolls around. I kicked it around Salisbury for a month or so. And then they carted me off to basic training, where I proceeded to blow out my knee and limp around for a while before they decided to send me home. That was fun.
Wow. And you're still alive and kicking, literally. You got a black belt in Taekwondo and you got your own gym just teaching others how to be more badass versions of themselves. It's freaking awesome.
Thanks. And just to make sure that your listeners are aware, Dominique and I met because he is or has been one of my students for 7 years, 6 years, something absolutely ridiculous like that. So our fine host this evening is also somewhat of an accomplished Taekwondoist himself, although he will always be way too humble to say anything about it. A little bit of a round of applause because he himself has put in quite a bit of the martial arts training. I want to make sure everyone's aware of your own accomplishments, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, can't hide that one anymore.
Nope, so I'm breaking through that wall. I just want people to know that I have kicked you in the head, you have kicked me in the head. We have a relationship that is weirder than most people.
And there goes the fourth wall.
My favorite superhero is Deadpool. Just to be clear, I feel like I get some license because of that.
Heck yes. So speaking of superheroes, you always had a dream of being a Ninja Turtle when you learned different martial arts to master all the weapons of the turtles.
Oh, man. Yep, somebody reread my bio. I did. The thing that drew me to the martial arts when I was a kid was honestly the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just watching them at least every Saturday, but probably like, I don't know, 6 out of 7 days a week for the most formative of years. And I decided, hey, you know what looks like fun? Being a Ninja Turtle. And so I may have pursued that a little bit harder than most kids would have, but you're right, I did pick my weapons training based upon whether or not a turtle with a bandana had used it in a cartoon. And I became proficient in sword, side, nunchuck, and bow staff just because I'm a huge turtle nerd.
But that is freaking awesome, because a turtle nerd became a gym owner and an author.
That's true. I mean, I guess they just kind of, they told me they should never give up. That was the moral of the story. Never give up and just do the things you want to do, because it could be worse. You could be a mutant turtle in the sewer.
And I guess pizza's still a favorite food of yours, right?
Pizza, I had pizza last night. Actually, let me rephrase it. I've had pizza today. And I know I shouldn't say that as not, you know, that's not just a gym owner, but also like a personal trainer and nutritionist and everything. I love pizza, you know, and I make room for it in my diet to make sure that I can have it, you know, whenever I want it. That's kind of one of the secrets to being healthy. Not pizza. Pizza is not the secret to being healthy, but making sure that you're managing your diet in such a way that you can sacrifice every once in a while to eat the good stuff. That's kind of that's the secret right there, and that is mine. That is my vice. Is going to be that pizza from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, I had a fitness expert on the show a few weeks ago, and she focuses on the holistic approach and talking about how you can have your cake and eat it too. So it's good to know that you don't have to focus on the dying part of the diet. There's still hope out there.
Yeah, actually, I listened to that episode, and I thought it was fantastic, and I have to agree with her. I think the best thing that was said the entire time is that dieting is kind of stupid. You know, people look at it as diet as something that kind of like, it starts and then it ends, but the reality of the situation is, what most people don't want to hear, you just have to eat better. Going forward, like, you don't diet and then stop because you reach your goal. Like, you just clean up your diet, you clean up the way that you eat, and then you stay as clean as you can until you die. And it's one of those things that I think it's great she's trying to get that out there with her, like her healthy snacks and her cookbook and everything. And that's really what my practical nutrition book is geared towards as well. It's helping people make those changes to their diet and really plan things out. Like, she's got that great cookbook out there. My book is really about like the moving pieces about your nutrition, like when should you be eating, what should you be eating, you know, what are your portions, what are your calories supposed to look like, you know, what about protein and fat and carbohydrates and everything. The point that she tried to make and the point that I try to make when I coach people through that kind of stuff is, you can eat the quote unquote bad stuff from time to time. The problem becomes when that's all you're eating. You know, if your meal consists of an entire chocolate cake a couple times a week, you know, chances are you're going to be going above your caloric limit for those few days, you know. But if you have a piece of chocolate cake once or twice a month when you're out with friends or something, and, you know, you didn't already overeat your meal, then chances are you're going to be fine. You know, if you can just kind of get 80% clean, if your diet is 80% clean and on point, more than likely you're going to see better results than with any juice cleanse or enema kits or pill or, you know, whatever other weird ass diet is being peddled out there. If you just don't eat like total crap all the time, you're like good to go. And I'm seriously saying that people can kind of eat like crap about 20% of the time, and more than likely they're going to be fine. We got to make sacrifices, but if you want a six pack or if you want to be healthy, then you have to live a healthier lifestyle. And so, yeah, I eat my pizza, but, you know, normally I don't eat until noon. I partake of intermittent fasting as kind of a regular thing. I found that it has great results for me personally.
Woohoo!
I used to be super on the paleo train, but I found that wasn't really sustainable. Not just because it was, you know, interfering with being able to have dinner with my family, but just because, you know, I like rice. So I like to have some rice. You know, just paying attention to when I eat and how much I'm eating when I do. Just kind of shortening the window of when I'm putting food in my face. Those are strategies that work for me. What people need to do is kind of find strategies that work for them. But that was a digression, and I apologize.
Oh no, digressions are great because they lead to more great doors. I mean, you're a guy with a bunch of experience, and I like how you mentioned how you should probably focus on almost essentially the 80-20 rule. I mean, make sure you're eating more healthy food. Make sure 80% of it is at least as clean as possible, and the other 20 can be just junk food.
Yeah, and you know what? That is a great insight, because the 80-20 rule, it's amazing how that can apply to so many different places. Like the Pareto principle, in case any listeners didn't quite catch it, is the 80-20 rule. And it just states that like 80% of the outcome of any given thing is from 20% of the causes. And it doesn't seem like it applies in some cases, but when you stop and think about it, what it's really saying is that there's like 80% goodness and 20% other stuff that's going on. And so you can split it with diet, like you just mentioned. Like if you're eating 80% great and 20% meh or even bad, like you're still getting it right 80% of the time. And that's going to make a big difference. Like if you throw that out for an entire 10-day period, okay, in 10 days, if you don't eat entirely well for like a total of 2 days, you're not going to do, unless you're doing cocaine and drugs, then you're not going to do a whole lot of damage. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. You know, as long as you're not going really completely, you know, apeshit when you're 20%, then you're probably going to be fine. The weird thing, I guess, is that it kind of flips the 80-20, because usually you want to say that 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of your results. So, like, if you've got 10 things to do, 2 of those are going to be the most important things for you that day. When it comes to nutrition and fitness, it's not necessarily the 20% of stuff you're doing, it's the 20% of stuff you're not doing. It's like the reverse 80-20 rule, I guess.
So the inverse 80-20.
Yeah.
Sounds like a sweet Taekwondo kick that's hidden somewhere.
Yeah, the inverse 80-20, you do a backflip and then you throw your heel out above your head, spin around 7 times, cluck like a chicken, and then you just axe kick the guy into the ground. That's the inverse 80-20 Taekwondo 4th degree black belt breaking move. That's what that is. And if anyone can post a YouTube video where they actually do that, I'll send you a free copy of like all of my books, like, because that would be amazing. Just say.
So you hear that?
I don't even remember what I said. Go back and listen to the audio and do whatever I said, and then I'll listen to it. And if you get it right, I'll send you free copies of my books. Guaranteed.
Oh man. So there you go, folks. There's a challenge out there. I'm not taking that challenge, but there's challenges out there. The gauntlet is thrown. Oh man. So from blowing out your knee and in service to just going all the way, working up through the ranks of education, getting all these certifications and degrees, to being basically almost a life coach with specific disciplines under nutrition. Like, what trials did you have to overcome to get to where you are now?
So I know a lot of people, and like I said, I've listened to your podcast. I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I'm always hearing these people talk about, you know, how they had to overcome this racial prejudice or like a class distinction prejudice where people like started out super poor and they had to work their way through. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't have to do that. And it's not that I'm super rich or anything. It's just I've been working. I was 13 years old. My very first job was as a dishwasher at the restaurant where my mother used to bartend until, you know, she left. And I have not gone more than a month without a steady job since I was 13 years old. I'm going on 33, so it's been almost 2 decades since I started working. Work is just a thing that I do. Always been that way. And I was actually joking with my wife the other day that I'm not sure I'll ever actually want to retire. Like, I get bored. I like to do stuff. But I've also found that tendency to always want to be go can be a problem. It started to become very obvious that it was a problem when my stress levels started to go up. So a few years ago, 4 years ago now, I opened the gym. And before that, like, I was working. Work was kind of stressful sometimes, but for the most part, it was fine. Like, I just went home at the end of the day, and other than needing to do what everybody does, you know, bitch a little bit to someone who would listen and not smack you in the head, things were pretty fine. Like, I wasn't happy with my job, but I was good at it. My coworkers are fine. It just wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life. So I opened the gym, and I found a whole new level of stress that I did not appreciate when I took on this particular challenge. And at the time, I was still working full-time with my day job, and I was doing the gym too. So I had income coming in, which really helped with my stress level because the gym almost felt like just this really super passionate hobby that I was throwing myself into. And at the time, it pretty much was. But then when I quit the day job, when that income stopped coming in and the money from the business started to become much more important, I realized that my stress level had just skyrocketed. Now, add all of this to my wife was finishing up some of her educational stuff, residency and fellowship, getting some specialties with what she does, and that's just stressful because of the hours involved. Like, you know, I was working 80, 90-hour weeks. She was working 80, 90-hour weeks. We were hardly seeing one another. We were both tired as hell all the time, and you know, we decided that we were going to have a baby because, you know, we didn't have enough going on. So we decided we should have another person that we have to care for 24/7. Let's do that. That'll be great. And so, right? Because it makes perfect sense. It's exactly the decision you should always make is put it, you know, add a pregnancy and childbirth and the resulting infant into an incredibly stressful life. So we did that. And
Nice.
2 years ago, our son was born, and pregnancy, as all of our listening ladies will know, is super fun for everyone, and it's not stressful at all. I say as I kind of twitch a little bit. You can't see it, but I am actually twitching. And so, you know, we worked through that, and he came into the world, and it's amazing. Like, my son is he's just like, he's the light of my life. He really is. But he's also stressful as hell because he's a toddler now. He's 2 years old. It's all of this stuff compounding. And no matter how good a lot of it was, like, it was great to have my own business. It was great that my wife was finishing her education. It was great that we had this new baby who is super cute. He's like a little squealing potato, but he's awesome.
Nice.
You know, but the stress got to be too much. And I realized that I was dropping the ball. Different places, I had trouble focusing, which for me is weird. You know, I'm that person that when things like when shit hits the fan, I focus like as a reflex. Like when you had a paper due at the end of the semester, I was the guy doing it 24 hours before it was due, got a perfect grade and just didn't move until 30 pages were written. Like, that's what I have always done. And I realized that things were just there fall through the cracks. I could only focus on so many things. I didn't have the energy mentally or physically, but mostly mentally to, be a decent husband, be a decent father, be a decent business owner, exercise for my own darn self and try to keep myself healthy. And I was getting to the point where, like, I had like one or two of those things that I could take care of every couple of days. And so, I did what a lot of people did, and I ignored it as long as I possibly could until I realized that I was being stupid, which I did not realize on my own. I had to be brought to this conclusion by my wife, who just was trying to make sure that I didn't further implode on everyone around me, and ended up seeing someone and kind of talking things through. Yes, people go to therapy. It's okay. But really, it was trying to learn how to deal with a new level of stress that I'd never experienced before. And I came to find out, and this is going to be news to some people, is I have ADHD. I simply never knew about it because I had never gotten to the point where it was triggered to an extent where it was causing huge issues in my life. But, talking to, the person who kind of helped me through all of that, my therapist at the time, I started really seriously looking at my childhood and growing up and realizing that, no, I've actually had focus issues. I just happen to be kind of smart. So I learned how to cope with it. I had developed coping mechanisms that worked for what I had experienced so far. So like my stress level, for instance, I had learned how to deal with it because I'd only ever taken it to a certain extent. And I had upped the ante so high that I could no longer use my same coping mechanisms. It just didn't work anymore. And I had to find an entirely new way of thinking. I had to find an entirely new way of organizing, which I'm still working on, full disclosure. I still have those days when things get a little overwhelming, but they're, 10% of what they used to be. And so just reteaching myself how to think from a fundamental level has been the weirdest and biggest struggle of my entire life. You don't stop and consider the thoughts going through your brain and how they will affect like the day-to-day outcome of something like, did you just do your job today? Did you forget to do half the stuff you were supposed to do? Even though you wrote it down, like, did you just straight up forget to do half the stuff you're supposed to do? And then when you become mindful and really start looking at yourself and your own performance and the way that you're living your life in a more objective sense, it's painful as hell, but it teaches you where you're screwing up, and it gives you a way to start working on it. And that's what I have been doing for about a year now. And like I said, I'm at like 10% of the issues that I used to have. Like, I forget things every once in a while, but I got systems in place that help me keep track of things. I have these thought processes kind of practiced now that let me realize when I am going to a place in my brain that's going to just kind of derail me. It's a lot of different skills to have learned. And a lot of people will have these things that throw them off and make their lives difficult because of where they were born, how they were born, who their parents were. For me, it's just the way that my brain works, the way that my neurons fire, the way that things connect. It's weird. It's wonky. I'm not going to say it's wrong because I'm not ashamed of it. It's different. And everything that I've ever been taught about how to manage all of that has been wrong for me. My major struggle is just learning how to think, like relearning how to think on a day-to-day basis. That was a much longer answer than I anticipated giving.
Hey, it's all good, man. You dropped something really important, and it's something that I believe a lot of people come to a certain point in their lives where they have to unlearn their old habits and just relearn just new things. It's to just rewire your thinking, and it's very true, because when you get to a certain point, you realize, wait, what got me to this point isn't going to keep me going further. It's you gotta change some things. You can't just use the same old quarters and pennies. You gotta find some 50-cent pieces, maybe some Sacagawea dollars to just take you to some new places.
And I think that's absolutely right. I think what it boils down to for a lot of people is that change is hard, and taking the time to try to find the parts of yourself that need to be updated is painful. And if there's one thing the human condition is good at, and I look at this in my clients every single day, we just want to avoid pain, and it surpasses almost every other drive in the human brain is surpassed by the desire to avoid pain, like wanting to pursue love, wanting to pursue pleasure, wanting to eat, wanting to do all the things that kind of keep us basically human can be trumped by just wanting to avoid pain. And we see that all the time. People don't go to the gym a lot of the time because they want to look better. They go to the gym because they don't want to look like crap. And a lot of people will tell you the same thing if you really push them to give you an honest answer. It's like, is it because you really want to look good? It's because you just don't want to look bad. People don't make huge dietary changes that will be good for them. Like, the guy who's 75, 80 pounds overweight doesn't start eating right spontaneously because he just wants to be skinny. At least not a lot of people do. They start doing it because they just got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and they're going to lose a foot within the next year if they don't change their diet. Like, they're going to die. And so it's that desire to avoid pain, but introspection is inherently painful. And that's what a lot of the more mindful, like meditative religious practices have taught. Like Buddhism had basically just said life is pain, but it's cool. Like, chill out and don't worry too much about it. Just accept that there's pain out there and accept that you can work through it. Accept that you really are at one with everything around you, that everything's okay, and move on. And so that's kind of what I try to remind myself. I'm not super good at it yet, but I try to remind myself that it sucks to have to be objective with your own flaws, but if you really want to be better, then you need to do that. And that's my newest book. That's really what it starts to address. Are you doing the things that you need to do to be successful in whatever way matters to you? Like, it can be, being successful in starting your own business, or in, just working up in the job that you have. It can be getting more fit. It can be being a better spouse. Or, if you're not married, maybe it can just be getting laid more often. It can be whatever it is you're looking for in life. I mean, that's honest, right? We're in the generation where marriage isn't for everybody, and that's fine. Some people it's great, some people it's not. It just kind of depends on you. But no, it doesn't really matter. Like, whatever you define as like being your success goal, you have to stop and take a look at who you are, and where you can be better. I'm going to be honest with you, like, my next one coming out is not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not all about motivation and you can do this and you can do that and Tony Robbins, rah, rah, rah. It's more like, hey, like, get your head out of your ass. And I mean, that's like the message that I've been telling people as a personal trainer for a while. Sometimes I have to sugarcoat it a little bit, but it really is like, you remove your head from your butt and take a look around and figure out what's going wrong. And I am just as guilty of pulling an ostrich with my own butt from time to time, just like everybody is. It's just making sure that you don't make that the only thing you ever do. You shouldn't always be hiding your head in the sand. You shouldn't always be just thinking, I'm not going to do anything unless I'm motivated. I'm not going to do anything unless there's this particular condition. It's like, if you want something, go work towards it. If you're not going to be disciplined enough to put the effort in, then you don't get to bitch when you don't get the results. Whenever someone complains about being fat, okay, I get it. You're overweight. It's highly uncomfortable. I was fat for a very, very long time. I carry excess body fat incredibly easily. Like, I look at a piece of chocolate cake and I gain a pound. I get it. But I also know from reading your food journal that today's meals included a can of Coke, an entire bag of chips, a whole chicken, a trip to Chipotle, and you just told me when we were talking that you're planning to go out to dinner tonight. You ate like crap. You've already eaten 3,000 calories today. You don't need to go out. Put down the fork. And then in the same conversation, you want to complain that you don't have a visible six-pack. Well, of course you don't. Your diet's crap. Your habits are crap. And I hate to have to say that because it doesn't, give me joy. It's not fun to tell people, hey, the reason you're not getting what you want is because you keep screwing things up. But sometimes it's what you need to hear. And so that's the message I'm trying to get out in the nicest way possible. It's like, you are so much more than you think you are, but you're standing in your own way because you're making excuses. You have your head up your butt. Like, you're saying that you can't do something because of something else. So stop making these dumbass excuses for why you don't get to be successful. Plenty of people have gone through plenty of worse things than whatever it is you're going through. You know, suck it up, buttercup, and either put in the effort or don't. And if you don't, shut up. If you're not gonna do what you have to do, then you don't get to complain about it. Like, I'll listen to you complain all day long, and I really will. I will listen to you sit there and bitch all day long about how hard stuff is, as long as I know you're putting in the effort to change it. But if I know that you're not, you and I are going to have a different conversation. I'm a nice guy, but, like, come on. That's all I'm saying. Come on. Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm a nice guy, but you gotta change.
Come on, that's all I'm saying.
So, with all this knowledge you got, I'm pretty sure you like to read books, don't you?
I read books like it's the cure for any major disease.
Sweet. So, what book, if any, like, it doesn't have to be just one, but what book has probably inspired you the most to just get out there and be the best Chris ever?
I'm going to give you three. I'm going to drop three on you. And one of them actually echoes one of your former guests. I'm going to say that Eckhart Tolle is one of the best. He has fantastic ideas. He really does. A Whole New Earth was recommended by me to a friend of my wife, who she knew kind of what we needed to hear at the time when she recommended it. And so it's a philosophical book that helped me think about things in a different way. So that's definitely one of them that I recommend to anybody, like literally anybody. And I did the audiobook. I personally love Eckhart Tolle's voice. I know a lot of people hated it, so whatever. Get the text if you don't want to listen to the guy, but I thought he was amazing. Now, the second one, and Dom, this one's not going to surprise you. It's The Tao of Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so he is absolutely one of my heroes. He put in so much work and effort over the years to go from being just this random kid in China to being an international film star, and I would argue one of the best martial artists to have ever lived on the face of this planet. He designed and released his own martial art, which has multiple hundreds or thousands of adherents all around the world. And he did this like back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like he is a modern inventor of a martial art, and I think if he was still alive today, he would have done amazing things. You know, but his book helped me, and again, it's another of those things where it just helped me kind of define my own personal philosophy and think things through. And I've always been a martial arts nerd, and to have someone so close in time talking about their thought process and their philosophy behind the martial art that they invented based upon a ton of talent and work and experience was kind of a big deal for me. It showed me that you can make a super significant impact, even with simple things. And the last one, and the only person, there are two people this one isn't going to surprise. My stepdad, because he's the one who gave me the book. Thanks, John. And my wife. And it's the book upon which I wrote my college entrance essay, which got me into every single college for which I applied. And it's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams.
Ah, nice.
A nice little sci-fi work from back in the day. It's silly, it's fun, and it is deeply philosophical if you read between the lines and know what you're looking for. In his book, the universe is just a weird place, and the poor protagonist, Arthur Dent, is in way over his head from the first chapter. Things just completely go awry. Like, the book opens with the Earth exploding to make way for a hyperspace bypass. I kid you not. And it just gets weirder from there. But, you know, when I read through, I think I've read it 12 or 13 times, and it's 1,000 pages in the anthology. So I've read like 13,000 pages worth of this book over and over again. And I read the entire thing through to my son over the first like year or so when I was reading him to sleep.
Nice.
It goes to show you that weirdness is out there, but weirdness is amazing. and being able to recognize it and appreciate it in all of its myriad forms can make you a better person. So those are like my top three.
That is a great triangle of books right there. Oh my goodness. Especially The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, I think it was an article, I think it was like on entrepreneur.com, and it recommend that apparently Elon Musk recommends that as like one of his top 10 reads or something, which is really awesome.
See, I didn't know that, but I'm going to go ahead and share that with my wife, who is a huge Elon Musk fan, and just to make sure that she knows that he and I have something in common, so that when he becomes single one day, she doesn't get ideas.
There we go. And it's on audios, and it's somewhere out there on the interweb, so it's true. Alrighty, since you got an eclectic array of stuff, how about the music scene?
The music scene. So, speaking of eclectic, I am true to form there. I will say, though, that my favorite artist to date is Lindsey Sterling. She is a violinist. She does some covers. She does some original stuff. I just find her music to be, it's equal parts soothing and just gets me jazzed up. Round Table Rival. Go look up the music video to that. It's pretty awesome.
Sweetness. I will do that indeed. And hopefully the listeners in their cars or their homes will as well.
Hopefully.
So coming down the pike with all this life experience you have now at the young age of 33, if you could go back 8 years and be 25 in 2017, what piece of advice would you give to yourself?
Dear Chris, at 25 years old, get your head out of your ass. Just remove head from butt and freaking get to work. Yes, you can write a book. You know what you need to do? Stop playing the stupid computer games. Stop putting your time in to stuff that is going to just make no difference to you 8 years from now. You do have it in you. You do. The thing that you want to do, the things that you want to say, like they're not well defined yet, but start now and you'll get there faster. Just because you're not confident and just because you're not motivated. I don't care that you're not motivated. Your motivation is stupid. It makes no difference to your life. Get your head out of your ass and start developing the discipline now to deal with the stresses that are coming. Just do it. You know, Nike has a point. Just do it and stop overthinking every single damn thing you want to do with your life. Hugs and kisses, Chris from 8 years in the future.
That's a beautiful way to put it right there. I love it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that's like in a self-help book somewhere. It should be in a self-help book. Write a letter to yourself 8 years in the future.
Well, I tell you what, that question has just given me a new idea for one of the activities I'm going to put in my new book, which should be available next month, by the way. So, good question.
Sweetness. So, and speaking of books being available in the coming days, where can we go to keep in contact with you and purchase your books and just support the awesomeness that is Christopher Aitken?
Well, thank you. So right now on Amazon, you can find 3 of the books that I've already published. You mentioned earlier there's a fitness sales system, there's West Fitness Sales. There's also You Probably Won't Die, the lessons that I learned failing my way to success as a gym owner and entrepreneur. And the latest one I just released, which is the essentially Nutrition 101, just learning how to eat better and not suck at your diet so much. The next book coming out is called Damn, I'm Good, and it is all about developing the qualities drive you to be successful in whatever way works for you. And, just for a little bit of funsies, DAM is actually an acronym standing for Disciplined, Active, Mindful, and Nimble. And each single section is going to go into what those qualities mean, as well as the 5 tools I find to be the most helpful in developing those qualities, and specific practical activities to help you develop those tools and thus kind of move further into those qualities. Regardless of how successful you want to be or what you define as being successful, starting your own business or, doing better in your relationships, getting more fit, the book is going to be all about helping you develop the qualities and tools to get there with a lot of different practical exercises thrown in. You can also find me at chrisaikenauthor.com. and I'm super terrible at social media, so you can basically not find me anywhere on social media that matters for any of this. And eventually I will do better with that once I remove my head from my social media. But for right now, ChrisAitkenAuthor.com is it's under construction, but it'll be up and much fancier later on this week.
Sweet. So by the time the folks at home hear this, you'll have a nice, shiny website to visit. And then
Shiny or matte, I haven't really decided yet. I'm kind of comparing colors at this. Yes, I'm being a wise ass at this point. Yes, it'll be available for people to look at. By the time this airs, I'm sure.
Hey, it makes life a lot more sweet, huh?
Well, I mean, I think I'm funny, so at least there's that.
There you go, baby. That's right, man. If you don't think you're funny, how that anyone else isn't going to think so?
I accept that.
That's right. You got to believe in yourself and the heart of the six-pack. That is within your belly, waiting to appear if it's not there yet.
Agreed, sir. The six-pack is waiting. Just put down the fork and stop eating like crap all the time. 80-20, kids. 80-20.
Woohoo! Well, all right, Chris, you have been friggin' awesome, man. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and dispensing some of your wisdom out of your magical glass cup.
Dom, thanks for having me on tonight. Like, I really appreciate it, and I hope that I wasn't completely boring and that people actually get something out of my PM rambling.
Hey, I got something out of it.
Always says that. That makes me happy.
I got something out of it. Heck, you might even one day make a social media ebook that says how to get your head. Actually, you could probably start a whole series of get your head out of your ass with fitness, get your head out of your ass with social media, all sorts of other stuff.
Get your head out of your ass, Volume 1. Things smell better on the outside.
Thanks a bunch for your tuning ears on the Going North podcast. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to, once again, check out my book, Going North, on Amazon.com and CreateSpace.com. And if you'd like, feel free to follow me on social media at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Dom Brightman, YouTube at Dom Brightman. And if you want to connect on LinkedIn as well, I am there at Dom Brightman as well. Go out there and make the